And today I'd like to acknowledge and respectfully acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands and waters of Western Sydney, the Darug, including the Barramadigal and Cobragal clans, Bidjigal, Darkinjung, Gundungurra and Dharawal peoples. We all recognise all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples continuing connection to this country for over 65,000 years. And Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples have shared cultural life on this continent as its first creatives, artists, storytellers, musicians, dancers and teachers. So I'd just like to acknowledge that. For the Western Sydney Strategic Partnerships Program, it's here to strengthen arts, culture and creative industries across Western Sydney. It'll focus on building strong partnerships and delivering programs that respond to critical needs in the region of Western Sydney. Some of the key priorities that you probably would have seen um, in the guidelines. So the priorities include skills development, organisational capacity, so that's building to support sustainable growth for your organisation. Audience development, which is to help increase community engagement. Partnership formation across the sectors. Investment sourcing, and that's to help diversify your income streams. And creative activation of spaces, so it makes it accessible for arts to be more visible and accessible in Western Sydney. As you know, the program is funded and administered by us here at Create New South Wales, and as a key action from the plan for the Western Sydney Arts, Culture and Creative Industries plan that was launched earlier this year. We talk about grant value and timelines. Some of the key details is that the total funding pool is 2,150,000, and that's exclusive of GST. And it's for this financial year, 2025-2026. So the money has to be out the door before end of financial year. There's no cap, which I've been getting a lot of questions about, that cap on it. There's no cap. So applicants can propose programs of any scale. So put that in there. The delivery period for your projects have to be between the 1st of May 2026 to the 30th of June 2027. With this funding as well, there's co-contribution requirements. It's 50% if you're a local government body, a registered charity, a not-for-profit organisation, or an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander corporation. If you're not in any of those 50%, then you're one of the other 80%, which is for all other organisation types. The program timeline, the expressions of interest are open now. The expressions of interest close on the 12th of December, which is in another couple of days. And it closes at 2 p.m. That just gives us time to do what we have to do to close things off. And if there are any issues, we can rectify those. Outcomes will be notified hopefully by late January 2026, and detailed applications close early March. So that's approximately 6 weeks. And again, this This is to support your strategic partnerships to deliver all any arts and cultural programs in Western Sydney. This is a great opportunity for Western Sydney. As you can see, it's only eligible for 13 LGAs within Western Sydney. They include Blacktown, Blue Mountains, Camden, Campbelltown, Cumberland, Fairfield City, Hawkesbury, Liverpool, Penrith, the City of Canterbury, Bankstown, the City of Parramatta, the Hills Shire, and Wollondilly. Again, applicants must have an Australian business number. They must be registered for GST, and you must maintain a business account with an Australian financial institution. Eligible entities include incorporated associations, registered charities, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander corporations, publicly funded research organisations, tertiary institutions and local government bodies. With ineligible applicants, you're not eligible for this program or program if you're an individual, a partnership, an unincorporated association, a state or federal government department. That's a state and federal government department, state cultural institution, screen production companies or film festivals. With screen production companies and film festivals, we would probably refer you to Screen New South Wales, as they have some of those programs that would probably suit if you're doing something with film. Confirming your eligibility early. Just some advice: make sure your organisation has an ABN, and you can check your ABN via the Australian Business Number lookup, the ABN lookup. You can check what your entity is for your organisation, because that plays, I guess, a little bit into your eligibility requirements. So just check out your entity type by searching your ABN in the ABN lookup. You have to have a physical presence in one of the 13 LGAs. That's a must. And yes, that's a few little tips there. As we know, or I'd like to share with you that this is a two-stage submission. This is the first stage that we're at, which is the expressions of interest. So it's structured into two stages to streamline our submissions process, which will help us, I guess, ensure a thorough evaluation. Stage one, which is the EOI, is via the Smarty Grants portal, and you must provide all requested information and supporting documentation as it states in the EOI. Stage two, you only get to stage two if you're a successful expression of interest applicant. Stage two, if you are successful from, stage one, expression of interest, you'll be notified and invited to submit a detailed application, which will open in late January of next year, where you'll be given approximately a couple of weeks to complete your detailed application. If you're having any difficulties with filling out your detailed application, we can help you out with some technical support or some general guidance. Technical support in terms of if you are having any difficulties with the Smarty Grants form or the portal, just flick us an email. We can help you out with that. We can get someone onto that to help you guide you through that. Or if it's anything to do with the guidelines or any questions about that, we're more than happy to help you understand those. Within the expression of interest stage, there are um, criteria that you will have to address, uh, and those key areas that you need to address are alignment with the focus areas and organizational capability, partnerships and delivery methods, outcomes for participants, and budget and contributions. With the focus area alignment and capability, you'll need to describe your program or your project and why you are proposing it. You'll also have to explain how it targets one or more of the program's focus areas. And also, it's a good idea to identify the problem your program aims to solve and to provide the evidence to support that. That section is a text section, so I think it's got a limit of 300 words. With the partnership and delivery methods, try and explain how and with whom you'll deliver the program. Describe the current status of any partnerships, whether confirmed or not, or in negotiation or not yet confirmed. Provide a brief program of management or your delivery plan. I think the section has got a limit of 100 words, but you can also upload letters of invitation or collaboration from artists, organizations, or communities if you've got them available. Um, with outcomes for participants, try and outline the intended outcomes for participants. Detail any unique value of your program for Western Sydney participants. And again, I mentioned supporting documentation, so I think there's a limit of attaching up to 3 files, such as letters of support or partnership agreements, and each file must be under 25 megabytes, um, and preferably in PDF format. The Western Sydney Strategic Partnerships Program, we're on a tight um, timeline here. So the program, yeah, is open now. It closes on the 12th of December at 2 o'clock. The deadline, yep, that's the deadline. Successful expression of interest applicants will be invited to submit a detailed one in late January, and detailed applications will be approximately 6 weeks later in early March. With the final decision and project period, final outcomes will be notified in late April, with funded activities to run from the 1st of May to 30th of June. That's a really quick run through of just a top overview or high level overview of the strategic partnerships program. I will open up the floor if anyone's got any questions, or if there is any chat or any questions in the chat that if you don't feel like asking, you can put something in the chat if you want to ask any questions. Hello, Augusta.
Hello, Michael Geyer.
Okay.
Congratulations on getting this off the ground. It's a really welcome news, I think, for everyone. I've just got a couple of questions. Your last slide said that it was for programs, I think, until 2026. Maybe it means 2027.
27.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry,
And
typo
also,
there.
no, totally fine. Just wanted to make sure. And also, I've got some partners that are not registered for GST, and are not those organisational types that you've sort of described in there. Does that weaken the application, working with collectives and working with individuals and working with people that are not registered for GST? Is there any issue there?
Uh, I don't see that there's any issue, as long as you're auspicing them if you're registered for
Hmm.
GST. Um,
Hmm.
I might have to, I guess, ask Hugh if that's okay as well,
Yeah,
but I'm pretty sure that that's fine.
no, it's no problem as long as the lead applicant, who's obviously the person or the organization that we're going to be contracting with, should they be successful, as long as they're all sorted, that's completely fine.
And for that, there is no auspicing arrangement really for the lead applicant. The lead applicant has to be one of those types of organisations that you've described,
Yeah,
um, fully GST, Aboriginal organisation, local council, etc. Yeah,
correct.
Yes.
fantastic. Thanks so much for your help. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And we'll note that question as well, and we'll also put that in our FAQs. Um, any question that we get asked today, we will take note of that, and we'll also add those as well. Um, we'll get lots of questions, I'm sure, throughout this process, and we'll be sure to answer them as best as we can. I see that Vicky's got her hand up there. How are you, Vicky?
I'm good, thank you. Just a couple of super quick questions. The first one is the initial download from the Create New South Wales site had said that the main round, if you get through the EOI, would go out on the 9th of February. You said it would be the beginning of March. Just checking for clarity on that, if you know when that would be.
Yeah, you were right there. The original info that we had up there was incorrect.
Okay,
That
cool.
has been updated since, so what
Oh,
is there
great.
now is
Yeah,
correct. Yeah, I think that information was in our FAQs, and
brilliant.
I think it
Thanks.
was on the guidelines page as well. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And look, the other quick one, I know you can't advise us exactly what to do, probably, but perhaps you can help us with this in our thinking. You said you had a lot of questions about the no cap aspect, that there's 2.15 million in the kitty and you can apply for up to 2.15 million. Um, which is great, and it can make it a bit tricky to know where to kind of to head for what kind of scale project you put forward. I mean, are you able to say anything that helps people in your understanding about whether you think actually you'd prefer to give out several grants and it's unlikely you're going to go for one big massive grant, or it's just there anything you can say that might help guide
Hmm.
us
Yep.
I
with
I can
that?
Uh,
respond to that, Michael, if it's helpful.
yeah.
Um,
Can I just respond and then
yeah, you go.
yeah, I just wanted to say that, even though it is a big amount and, people are, you know, I mean, the same concerns that you have as well. Um, with some of the criteria, we've got priority areas as well that, you can focus on and make it a really strong application. Um, you know, if you're going to be applying for the whole amount, you're going to have to be a really um, good application. It's got to meet all the criteria. It's got to meet all those priority areas as well. Um, but you know, it doesn't matter, I don't think, about how much you apply for. I think the priority areas will give you strength in your application as well. Yeah, I'm not too sure if I answered that now because I just went around in a circle, but
Yeah.
um, I might hand it over to Hugh. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Thanks, Michael. I mean, look, the short answer is that we don't know. Like the way the program has been designed, is to give it sort of ultimate flexibility for it's a call out for ideas. The EOI, the inclusion of the EOI stage is really to give people an opportunity to put forward their ideas in a way that doesn't sort of bog them down too much in the really laborious work of doing a detailed application. So we want people to put their ideas forward. How that lands in terms of, the spread of, grant amounts and what the average grant value is, we
Yeah.
really don't actually have a clear sense of that. We want people to be ambitious. Obviously, there's a balance that you need to strike there between, being ambitious and realizing that the more ambitious everyone is, the more competitive the program is. So there's a bunch of factors.
And we want to share the love.
Yeah. And I mean, one of the other things that we are conscious of along these lines is that there are going to be small organizations who aren't in a position to apply for, what they want to do might be significantly smaller than what some of the larger, more well-resourced organizations want to do. So, I mean, our general sense is that it will be a sort of a spread. There will be, potentially some bigger grants, but it really just depends what people send us. Everything flows from what we get applications on.
Okay.
Really.
All right. Thank you.
I realize that's not particularly helpful, but that's about as best that we can say at this point.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vicky. Andrew, how are you? And then we'll have Jessica after Andrew. You're on mute, Andrew. We can't hear you.
How's that?
Yeah, that's better.
Better. Okay, I just want to ask a couple of questions around the partner organisations. I can see in the chat, Hugh, you've clarified that a state cultural institution can be a partner, they just can't be the lead organisation.
Yep. Yeah, there's a bunch of different ways in which a state institution might take part in a program, but they definitely cannot be the lead applicant.
Yep.
Yeah.
And would they be up for 50% or 80% in terms of contribution?
So it gets a little complicated. My maths is terrible, so please do not ask me to do it live. But there is in the guidelines, there is actually there's a formula for working out the split. So if you have a scenario where if you have a consortium or a series of partners, you essentially need to work out, okay, how do they sort of fall between the 80% and the 50%? You work it out from that. Yep. But in terms of whether they would fall in a 50% or an 80%, that's actually something that we hadn't thought of. So I'll need to put that into the FAQ and we'll update that in the next couple of days.
Brilliant. And does the partner organisation also need to have a presence in one of those LGAs, or can it be a partner organisation from outside Western Sydney?
Michael, do you want to take that or shall I? You're on mute.
You're on mute, Michael.
Michael, you're on mute.
It's my turn now. Sorry, could you repeat that? I was just putting something in the chat for you in regard to the co-contributions. I put the calculation in there for you.
Yep, okay. I guess that question was particularly, is the state institution therefore is in the 80% category? It's not clear from the
Stating,
information
Yeah.
you've
Yeah,
stuck
let
in the
it
chat. I'll
let
let
us
you
take
yeah.
yeah,
sort
let
that
us
out.
take
Yep.
that offline and we'll add it into the
Yeah.
FAQs for sure.
Michael, my second question was around the partner organisation. Does it also have to have a presence in Western Sydney in the LGA's eligible, or can it be a partner organisation from outside Western Sydney?
It can be outside the organisation. Of course, activities must occur, or
In the, yep,
in the LGAs. Yes.
yep. Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Andrew. Jessica.
Hi,
Hello.
how you going?
Good. So,
Good. Um, the first question I have is, there's a reference to focus areas. I'm assuming you mean priority area. Like, I'm just trying to figure out exactly what you're referring to when you say that. There's not a title that says focus areas in any of your
yes.
documents.
Yes, sorry, that's my mistake. I was previously doing arts and cultural funding programs, so the ACFP, and yeah, we referred to them as the focus areas. But in terms of this one here, it's the priority
Priority.
areas that I'm referring to. Yes, sorry
Awesome.
for the confusion.
That's all right. Um, I also just had a question. So the partnerships, you're saying in the application that the partnerships can be internal Western Sydney partnerships or external. We're also able to put in more than one EOI, but there's a kind of strategic danger there because if we have more than one EOI in with our name on it, then only one can get through to the next round. That obviously discourages Western Sydney orgs from partnering with each other in a way because it will then um,
Can I
mean that.
can I clarify that?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
in terms of, so there's no limit to how many programs or projects, like, so there's not a limitation on an organization being involved in more than one detailed application. It's just the ones that you will be the lead on. So,
Right.
for in an example where you're partnering with you could potentially be involved in 2 or 3 programs that are going through the detailed stage, but you could only be the lead applicant on one of them.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. That's really
Yeah.
good clarification. And just on that as well with the partnerships, it feels like there's an embedded assumption that the partner that you're partnering with would be the one sort of fronting up that matched funding or the co-contribution funds. But in reality, the reality of the conversations we're having is that there'll need to be a third party who is matching that money. So I'm just wondering, is that an assumption you're making that those partners are going to be the partners who are funding that match funding, or is that not your assumption?
I'll grab that. So in terms
Yes,
of
please.
where we're not assuming that the contributions are coming from any particular place. The idea is that the contributions are provided collectively across the partners that are involved in it. I mean, it may well be that if you get together with a group of, just 1 or 2 other organizations, that you decide that the best organization to lead the application is the one providing the bulk of the contribution, but it doesn't have to be the case. So, if you've got 3 partners who are each, delivering different things, and we're after the total, and it doesn't have to come from any particular partner. It just has to be across the consortia, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess just to clarify then, for example, we would be like our person funding it is a philanthropist. So they don't fit into any of the models that are provided in terms of that percentage. And I'm assuming that's okay because I wouldn't want that to change the percentage for us that we've sought a philanthropist.
Yeah, that's a really interesting one. I don't know the answer to that. Maybe, yeah, I guess it sort of depends on whether the philanthropist is providing philanthropy to the program that you're applying for or to one of the organizations that it's part of. Um, but if we can take that one offline and
Yeah.
think about a really nice and clear way to clarify that, we can put it in the FAQ after the fact.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So if, just to push this one step further, if it were a university who we were partnering with, it would not be to the disadvantage of the application that the university was not providing the funds. Because there's an assumption there in the percentages when you say if you're working with a university, then it has to be 80%. I mean, if you are a university, it's 80%. If we were working with an organization, it would be something like 65% once you do those sums.
Yeah.
But the university is not the one funding it.
Yes, right. So the percentage that the co-contribution percentage is not affected by who the co-contribution is coming from. That will remain unchanged. So if there is a partnership involving a university, that percentage will remain the same whether or not they're providing money or support into the contribution.
Okay. One more question. Scope. Basically, the scope of this grant, I guess, is not necessarily made clear until you read the whole guideline, but it's sort of because there's no discussion around artistic output, the assumption is that this is a development strategic application for development plus capital works.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, absolutely. It's not, and that's what makes it somewhat different to the ACFP in a number of different ways. Although obviously the ACFP can cover off some of the same activities. So it is very much a strategic program that's focused on industry development and to some degree capital, although there are limitations around the capital, but really aligned with those priority areas.
Okay. And so you definitely don't want outcomes. Is that correct? Like artistic outcomes, sorry.
Oh, so I mean, look, there can be artistic outcomes, but that's not the focus of the program. So, like if, and I'm sure there's many on the call, if there are organizations that can deliver both artistic outcomes and the strategic outcomes that we've, listed as the priority, I mean, happy days. That's a compelling application. But it isn't the focus of the program.
Okay. One more thing, it's not a question, but 12 days is not a very long time in December to confirm partnerships. And there are many partners that I've been in conversation with who now have come back to me and said, we can't have this discussion right now, we're too busy, particularly anyone involved in Sydney Festival. So that's really been a huge challenge just to put that on the table. And I don't know if there's any way that we can rectify or there can be some kind of, I don't know, because obviously we want our partnerships to be confirmed and we want to also have proper conversations to ensure cultural safety, particularly we were talking with a First Nations organisation. And they've said, we are too busy right now. We go on holidays next week and we have a show in Sydney Festival. So that's really affecting our ability to I think like leverage this really important opportunity.
So first of all, I mean, there's a couple of points in there. The first thing is we definitely acknowledge it's a shortish turnaround time. What I really, really want to emphasize is that the partnerships do not need to be confirmed at the EOI stage. They do not need to be. The assessment criteria does not cover off whether or not partnerships are confirmed. So if you're in the application form, you have the option to list the partners and then identify them as confirmed. in negotiation, or unconfirmed. If you are clicking unconfirmed, it's not going to mark you down. And that's exactly for the reasons you've just laid out. So yeah, that's definitely recognize that it's difficult to have those conversations at this time of year. But if you've had to some degree a conversation where the response is potentially interested, but we're not able to look at that right now, this is something that we would have to pick up later. There is a pathway for partnerships, in that way.
Okay.
Thank you. We've got Naomi. Hello.
Hello, it's Naomi and Paul from Form. Thanks very much for this opportunity. Congratulations. Just a couple of questions. Is this going to be an annual repeatable offer, or is it just a one-off?
This is what is it? This is part of the strategic or the plan for Western Sydney. The plan for Western Sydney was a 10-year plan. What we've got here
10
is
years.
part of the three, is probably the first bit of it that's rolling out. So yeah, this is, I think, the first bit of the 3 years out of the 10. And yeah, some of the projects or programs may vary or change over that 10-year period.
Can
But
I jump in as well? We currently have funding for this year. We don't have confirmed funding for future years, but we will obviously be seeking it.
Okay, thank you for that clarity. I really appreciate it. And the other question is, we are essentially a producer and a presenter, so we put product in the market. So we'll be aiming for the category 3 audience developments that would be about outputs and outcomes. Is that okay? Is that going to be a successful process? I've heard a lot about development and strategy, but you've got audience development as one of your key strategic priorities, and that's what we do.
Yeah, so audience development is part of it for sure, but we aren't looking at the artistic quality of programs. So we're not assessing things for their artistic merit. We're assessing them for their ability to develop audiences. So
thanks a lot. That really helps.
thank you. Who is Jordan? Hello. And then we've got Gina after Jordan.
Hi.
Hello, Jordan.
Sorry, Gina. Do you want to go first, Gina? Actually, you were waiting just before me.
Yes, of course. Sorry, my buzzer just went off at impeccable timing. Okay, so I've got a question. I just wanted to clarify. Someone had asked about focus areas, and you said you were looking at a different program when you said focus areas, but there are actually focus areas for this round, and it mentions it online, but it goes into further detail in the application PDF. So for whoever asked that question, I just wanted to re-clarify that. Like focus areas are relevant to this.
Oh,
yeah,
in the program objectives, yeah.
Yeah, it was really just
Well, focus areas are those
whether they're
points that you're
called.
mentioning.
Yeah, I think the discussion was just whether they were called focus areas or priority areas. But yes, there are definitely, whether you want to call them focus areas or priority areas, there are key things we're trying to do and focus on with the program. Absolutely. Thank you for clarifying that.
No problem. And in the first one, you're saying identify the problem and provide evidence. What do you think is a suitable form of evidence to provide?
I can answer that. So I think it fundamentally depends on what you're trying to do, because the range of potential projects and programs is really broad. It could be research, it could be data that either you've collected or that has been collected that you've accessed. It could be survey results are a form of data. It could be
Sorry, Is it purely quantitative or can it be also
No,
qualitative,
it
given
can
that
be,
many of us have lots
no,
of
it can,
staff out on the ground talking to
absolutely.
artists, you know?
It can
Okay.
absolutely be qualitative, yeah, for sure. So it's really just, I mean, we haven't been prescriptive in that regard because, again, because the world of potential projects that this thing could fund is quite broad, and so the answer is also quite broad. But yeah, qualitative or quantitative data and information is the goal.
Great. Okay, so we can use our real world experience and our years of conversations with the sector to support our,
Yeah.
like how far do you, okay, good. Okay, and in online, you've listed the assessment criteria for the EOI, and can you confirm that that assessment criteria is not weighted at EOI phase?
No, it is weighted.
It is. Yeah.
Okay, so you listed it in EOI and it doesn't look weighted, and then you've got a heading that says detailed application assessment criteria, and then you've weighted that criteria. So online, it just looks like the EOI assessment criteria is not weighted.
Yes. Okay, well that's an error on our part. We'll update that.
Okay, because again, with partnerships not being confirmed, with 12 days to confirm those partnerships, you've weighted that at 20%. If that
Yeah.
same weighting applies at EOI phase through to detailed application. So just wondering how you're going to manage that, or how we can help manage that, like how we can help support that criteria too.
Right. So again, with the partnerships, when I say it's not being like you're not going to get marked down, what I mean is you're not going to be marked down if it's either confirmed in negotiation or unconfirmed. So it will be assessed on the assumption that the partnerships, should they go through to the detailed stage, will be confirmed.
Okay, sure. And do you think that you will carry across the weighting that you've provided in the application assessment criteria to the EOI phase?
We can tell you, Michael, do you have the exact weighting for the EOI in your notes?
You haven't weighted the EOI, you've weighted the detailed application assessment criteria.
No, what I'm saying is that we have weighted it. We just have neglected to put it on the information on the website. So I'm saying that's an error, and we'll fix that. And I'm just trying to get it for you now so I can give it to you.
Thank you.
The weighting on the guidelines is there. It just doesn't look like the weighting is on the expression of interest form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's all I was just curious. Like I assume it would be the same, but it's really like that inconsistency is helpful to understand.
Yeah,
So,
the
we'll leave
weighting
it with you to
information from
address
the
it.
guidelines
thank you.
just hasn't transferred over onto the expression of interest form in Smarty Grants.
Yes, thank you very much for pointing that out.
It's fine. Thank you.
Thanks.
That's me done. Thank you, Jordan.
Hey, Jordan.
I'm trying not to ask a difficult question right now, but that's okay. Firstly, from the Western Sydney plan, I'm just checking. This one doesn't seem to have weighted priorities for First Nations. It's like 20% projects for First Nations, creatives, and communities, and it doesn't appear to have the 10% for deaf and disabled at this stage in terms of the overall outcomes, which was something that's in the plan. Is that something that's going to be considered or not at this stage, like not in this initial round of this funding?
Not at this initial round. So we haven't ring fenced or weighted anything or for particular communities or or really in any way. As I sort of said, the program has been designed as quite open wide in order to give sort of ultimate flexibility. But we do obviously recognize the importance of those communities. And, when we're looking at the spread of programs, that's obviously going to be something that we're looking at, but it's not it hasn't been weighted or ring fenced in the way that you're asking, no.
Cool. Sorry, just here, just in case you didn't know, because I was one of the co-designers on that plan, and that was something that was really significant commitment, but that's okay. I also just want to check in for the avoidance of doubt, if our in-kind or cash contributions overlap in any way with our multi-year funding, that doesn't appear to be explicitly excluded. Like, if we have staff time allocated, that's not an issue, is it? If it's come from, like, they're basically employed through the Create multi-year funding or not?
No, we haven't excluded that.
Do you want it, like, is the intention that it be other revenue sources as the preference, or?
I mean, look, we're not asking people to like identify that, especially
Yeah,
at the EOI stage. The
sure.
level of detail that we're asking for is not specified in that. So we're not
Cool.
asking for people to specify that now.
Yeah, and just to double check as well, I think you're going to clarify whether cultural institutions come at that 80% co-contribution. Awesome.
Yeah, we'll let you know.
Um, that's great. And then, no, that's all my questions for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jordan. We've got a couple of minutes to go. Has anyone else got any other questions about the Western Sydney Strategic Program? Is there anything in the expressions of interest in Smarty grants that people are unfamiliar with, or have you started it? Have you put in an expression of interest yet? Hi, Vicky.
Sorry, I wasn't going to take any more time, but if no one's asking a question, it's not in line with what you've just said. But just to clarify, having heard the conversation here, in terms of the budget, from looking at it when I looked at it last week when it came out, my recall is that it's a full budget, yeah. But you also said it's okay if some of the partners aren't confirmed, which of course it's just when you're doing a EOI to then do a full budget, you kind of need everything fully kind of formed to be able to do the budget, if that makes sense. So if there are budgetary things that are still a little bit to be confirmed at the EOI process, is there any advice on that? Will you if something's not confirmed, will it be looked upon negatively? Because it just might be that people need February to have those fuller
Yeah,
conversations with partners, because as Jess said, it's just too late, not enough time to have those conversations.
yeah.
Mhm.
Budgets are indicative at the EOI stage, so because we're saying to you, it's high level, nothing, things don't need to be nailed down. The budget is obviously the same. So it's to the degree that you have to submit a budget for the EOI, it is indicative of what
So
you
when,
anticipate the program. And we
okay,
understand that there may be differences
yeah,
between a budget that is submitted for the EOI and how
yeah,
things
that
sort
it
of,
might change.
yeah,
Yeah,
that it will
Mhm.
change,
yeah, okay,
that it's highly likely to.
yeah.
Um,
Okay.
yeah.
And then I suppose, do you know yet that, let's say you get through the EOI and you ask for, I don't know, $400,000, for example, but you get through and then you go, oh my God, we need 450 or 500. Is that something at that time we can have discussions with you, or will it be a lock-in of what you've asked first time round?
That is a good question. I don't know the answer to that question, so we'll
Okay.
need
Take
to
it
we'll need to
offline.
have a think about that and feed it back
Yeah.
through the
Not that I necessarily
FAQ.
want to do that, but yeah. Okay.
No,
And
but
just sorry,
it's a
when you,
reasonable question.
yeah. And just sorry, when you say indicative, like we all know, we all write grants a lot. The more detail you put in, the kind of more a better impression it makes, as if it's more
Mm.
organized. So what would your advice be in terms of, you're saying it's indicative, still try to do detail, but it might not all be confirmed, or sort
Well,
of like, let's say it's
look,
$50,000 worth of wages. Do you want each person lined, or do you want
no, 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 no,
$50,000
no, no,
worth
no,
of
no, no, no.
wages?
No. So like the budget lines can be broadly grouped, like
Okay.
and I guess the main thing that we would be focused on is the main thing that we're trying to assess is to what
Yeah.
degree is the money being spent on eligible or ineligible costs, like
Okay.
so, and so I think broadly grouping it into things like wages, and that can be, and you can separate that out by salaried staff or contract
Yeah.
staff,
Okay.
capital costs, venue hire, like sort of broad venue costs more broadly. Like for an indicative budget, that sort of grouping is fine.
Okay. That's
Yeah,
helpful. That's
we
very
do
helpful.
want there to be a substantive difference between the level of detail you have to put into the EOI at the EOI stage and at the detail stage. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. And I think I don't know for other people, I think that was the slight kind of mixed messaging because it's support
Yes.
material and a budget was a bit of mixed messaging on a kind of the antithesis of what an EOI usually is. But thank you for explaining that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Vicky.
Thank you.
Jessica.
Hi. Just to follow on, I had one of the questions that Vicky just had, but I just wanted to flesh that out a tiny bit. So, yeah, because you were saying the partnerships might not be fully confirmed. Obviously, then the amount that those partnerships might be contributing would not be fully confirmed, and you are only able to apply for whatever, double what you're putting in. So just like there's a bit of an assumption that we're going to have to make about that. And so if there's not, flexibility around that, then that can be quite difficult.
That's a good point.
Um,
Yes, thank you for raising that. That's a good point.
and then I also just wanted to follow up with this idea of the kind of it's stated many times that this co-contribution can be cash or in kind. And just to kind of extrapolate perhaps a little bit on that, we're all very used to kind of valuing our in-kind assets and also our time. But that seems to be sort of not really the point of this grant because we're talking about expanding partnerships and networks. Is it advantageous to be making sure that there is an actual cash contribution, or is there some thinking about that you want to share?
Where possible, I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know whether I would go to the extent of saying it's advantageous. It's good. It's definitely a good thing if you, as an organization, are able. I mean, I think it's contextual, right? Like there are some organizations that may be able to generate a cash contribution, and there are other organizations that don't have cash but do have, access to, people power and hours and value in kind stuff. So I think to some degree it's contextual. So I would say wherever you can source cash as a contribution, you should. But I don't know if I would say that it would advantage you over other organizations that are not able to.
So when you're talking about the 20% weighting, that doesn't take into account whether or not you have managed to secure cash contribution?
It doesn't differentiate between the type of contribution. So the weighting is about the contribution. Is it being made? Yes or no? It's not to do with, cash is not valued higher than in kind.
Okay, great.
All right. Thank you, Jessica. That will probably conclude our presentation today. Once again, thank you everybody for joining us today and sharing some of your questions with us as well, which we greatly appreciate. As I've said before as well, please reach out if you've got any further questions. We will update our FAQs as well with some of the questions that we've received today. And we will share this presentation as we have recorded it. So we will share this to you all as well. We do have another session on Wednesday, exactly the same as what we've had today. If anyone's missed the opportunity today or you'd like to share this with someone, just please share and we can see them on Wednesday. Have you got anything else to say, Hugh, or we can finish up? Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Our details are there as well. We've got our mailbox, westernsydney@create.nsw.gov.au. So please feel free to drop us an email. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
Have a good
everyone.
afternoon.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.